Happy Free Comic Book Day, guys. Yep, it's the 1st of May, so we got free comics. Go out to your local comic book store. Get yourself some free comics. I got, let's see, I was able to, the store I go to, they give you 3 free comics. So I got The Phantom. I got, let's see what else I got. I got Speed Racer, and I got Conan. So I was very happy to get the books I wanted. Remember last year, the store that I went to, my store didn't get all of the books. And Astro Zombie was nice enough when I said which ones I wanted. He went back to his local comic book store and he got them and he sent them to me. So, and all those books that he sent me were books that were being launched as new series. So, thanks to him sending me those books, I subscribe, I had those added to my pool list. So, thank you again, Astrozabi, for what you did for me last year. Greatly appreciative. Uh, Actually, you know what? My local comic book store is the one that should really be sending you the thank you. Because if it weren't for you, they wouldn't have been making money for me all this last year off of those books. So, thank you again. So we are in week 18 of signed comics that I'm posting on Twitter. And we start off with day 117. Wow. 117 days of signed comics. And we're in the J's. And everybody knows that means a lot of Justice League of America. In fact, this is week 1 of a full week of signed JLA books. We're going to have at least one additional full week, and then the following week will be like 5 JLAs with 2 Marvel. So, so I'm happy. I'm excited. Um, the books that I posted this week, these are my original. These were the books that I originally bought at the off the spinner rack. Especially if you look at issue 202, look at that spine. You can see how that spine is cracked and all the wear lines on it. Okay, I bought that book off the spinner rack and I flipped through that and I've read that book so many times. This was one where it starts right off with Batman is outside of the Justice League of America's satellite headquarters and he's doing some work on the satellite. And like there's an explosion or a short circuit or something causing Batman to fly out into space. So Hawkman, he signals the alarm. Other JLA members rally to the cause, and they find Batman. But the thing was Batman in that time came across an alien probe that mistook Batman for one of the species of the probe, and so almost like re-engineered him as this Cro-Magnon alien beast. And so the JLA first have to subdue him, and then they've got to. And Hawkman, I believe, is the one who like re like figures out how to like resequence his DNA so it's back to being Batman. So this was, like I said, one of my first books as Batman of JLA. Followed up with issue 205. The cover inks were done by Mike DiCarlo, and so I had him sign it. Oh, with issue 202, it was Brett Breeding who did the inks, so I had him. When I had the opportunity to have him sign it, oh boy, you better believe I had him sign it. I mean, think about it, one of my first comic books bought off the spinner rack, which would be one of the very first superhero comics I ever bought. And to get that signed, oh, you better believe that was a that was a fun moment for me to have Brett sign that book. But this one again, one of my first books, because like I got issue 202, issue 203. The they're fighting against uh, the Royal Flush Gang. And here, a bunch of JLAers are falling victim, and they're going into the hospital. And in this issue, here it's made known that here Hector Hammond, a Green Lantern villain, was the secret benefactor of uh, the jail of the Royal Flush Gang, and as a result, he was the one who was like causing the JLA members to fall ill and have to be put in the hospital. And one of the members that went in the hospital was Firestorm. Well, Hector Hammond was not aware that Firestorm is made up of the consciousness of two people. And as a result, Dr. Stein has to fight on the astral plane against Hector Hammond, defeat him, which then pulls all of the JLA members that are in the hospital out of their comas. So I really didn't understand it that much when I was a kid, but I mean, it was one of like I got it primarily. It was like, oh wow, look at all these. Oh, look at this cover. And first of all, the last two covers, both 202 and 205, were done by George Perez. Okay, and I was buying them because these covers were so cool. So it really comes down to how, even though George wasn't doing the covers, or wasn't doing the artwork inside, he was doing the covers, and the covers were uh, beautiful and made me buy the book. So, but yeah, so like this cover was like all these JLA members, all like in bandages and all strung out on a hospital bed with this astral plane of these two guys fighting above them, and not even knowing anything about them. It was just such a cool image that I had to get it. So having this one signed also, like I said, these are the first issues of the Justice League that I bought. The ones prior that I've been posting, I bought those out of back issue bins. So these two books were the start of me buying superhero comics. Same thing with the follow-up one on day 119, Justice League of America, number 210. Again, Mike DiCarlo did the cover, and so I had the opportunity for him to sign it, so I had him sign it. I found out just this week that Rick Buckler is going to be at the Carlisle Comic Con this year out in October. So Rick Buckler did the pencils for this issue. So I can assure you I will be having him sign this book when I see him in October. I can't wait. Again, one of my first books. And this was the first JLA book that had every single member of the JLA up to that point in the book, including the Phantom Stranger. I didn't even know anything about the Phantom Stranger, but I'm like, who is this guy? Look at it. All he's wearing is a cape and a suit, and he's wearing he's got a top hat. And the way they drew him with the top hat, or not top, the fedora, and how it created the shade over his eyes so you couldn't see him like a mask. I'm like, who is this guy? And so, again, just such a cool image with all the characters and the earth showing being cracked apart. Here, what it was is that there was this like this chemical element that was like decaying, and here I was like, I guess it was like a building block of everything on Earth, and here it was decaying. So like they had to break into teams to find, I guess, like samples of this element or elements within on the Earth to counteract it. So again, as a kid, I didn't really understand it, but it led to here there was in conjunction with a alien invasion by this alien species called the Treasury, which again, that was one thing about Justice League a lot is they were a lot of times fighting alien invasions, but they were just like made up alien species that uh, weren't part of DC titles. So it wasn't like any of those alien, like the Kund or the Phison or the Dominators from like Legion of Superheroes, and then we all know from Omega Men. No, these were just an alien species, and it's up to Justice League to fight off this alien invasion. So, and so again, these three books that I'm talking to you guys about. They were my first Justice League books, and even though I'm not presenting them all in order, I'm sorry, each in consecutive. Uh, like I do have all the issues between them, but these were the ones that I've had signed. These are the ones that really were like. These are the ones that got me started. I would not be talking about. I may not have become a big uh, comic book fan or a DC guy if it hadn't been for George Perez's covers with issues 202, 203, and 205. So even when this issue came out, and even though he didn't do the cover, it's still solid artwork. Enjoyed it a lot. So yeah, I'm very happy to and very proud to be sharing to you guys these issues that I've gotten signed. Because, like I said, if it weren't for these books, I probably wouldn't have continued to buy superhero books off the spinner rack, and just would have stuck with Star Wars and GI Joe. So, but and then we follow it up with JLA 233. Now, anybody who's looked at day 120 with issue 233, you guys know that this is the first issue of Vibe on the regular monthly issue book. He debuted in annual number 2, and this is the first issue after the very first issue after uh, the annual, where it's showing Vibe as a member of the JLA. He's on the cover. I still, it starts out right off the bat, okay, where Zatanna and Vixen are not dressed as superheroes. They're just dressed as regular in their regular secret identities, and they're out getting groceries in Detroit. And they come across Vibe, and Vibe is in his regular clothes, which is kind of like his costume, and he's just out breakdancing for everybody, entertaining everybody, and just the way that he was drawn with all the different moves and everything was so cool. And just like Zatanna's commentary, how it's like, would we ever see Superman breakdancing in front of everybody? Or The Flash? Or heaven forbid, Batman? No, you wouldn't. I like this is they're really pushing. Jerry Conway was really pushing how like this is a completely different JLA than what you are used to seeing. So, so of course having when I first discovered that Bill Anderson was going to be at the Garden State Comic Con 2 years ago, and he did this issue, I was like, oh hell yeah, I've got to get him to sign this issue, and he was shocked. He was like, wow. He was like, never, but he's like, no one's ever shown that much enthusiasm for that issue, and I'm like, no, you understand. Vibe is my favorite character. He did the inks for this issue, 322, and he did it for 334, which had Vixen on the cover. So I had him sign both of them. I'm so happy I've got those two issues signed. Um, Chuck Patton, thank you so much for creating Vibe. He's I'll trade in all of my Supermans and Batmans for a regular monthly ongoing Vibe book. So, but yeah, so that's Vibe. What more do I have to say? So I'm love this issue. So happy to have it signed. So happy to share it with you guys. And then we followed it up with issue 244 on day 121. This was Crisis on Infinite Earths, and we have Steel versus Steel Commander, with basically Steel Commander is manipulated the Infinity Incorporated and the Justice Society to go up against the JLA. This is the last time, one of the last times we had the JLA uh, team up with the Justice Society, because after the the Crisis on Infinite Earths, uh, the JS Justice Society was retired because here their Earth was gone, and by and large, most of the characters they were in limbo, so they weren't in the DC proper universe anymore. So the team was essentially disbanded because all of them were out in limbo. So, and I don't mean limbo as in they weren't being published. Roy Thomas actually had a story where they actually had to go into limbo to fight. Uh, I can't think of it. It's the sulfur, the fire demon from Greek mythology, and I'll present that one when I get to the L's. So, but yeah, this is one that this is Joe Staten did the artwork. He was not the usual artist for this issue, so again, I just it was as a child. As one of those like it's not. I was like, oh, I'm so used to Chuck Patton doing it. Who is this guy? But I mean, this was actually one of the first. Uh, this was one of the first Justice League comics I ever had signed at a con because Joe Staten had done it. So I've obviously got many more signed since then, but this was one of the very first ones I ever had signed when I started getting books signed. This was my first JLA that they signed. Uh, that along with, I think the first year I went down, I had Justice League International signed by like Kevin McGuire. I don't know if it's signed by uh, Giffen and DeMatis. I'm not certain. But, I mean, this one and the first issue of JLA International were my first books signed by, but of course, many more since then. So, very happy, very happy. Yeah, I know, this is a wacko gun. That's the reason why it's weird. It looks weird. Weird, weird. So, and then, of course, after that, we go to 122, day 122, and we have JLA created equal. The premise for this was all men on Earth are wiped out. In a blink of an eye, they die, and so all the women have to step up to the plate. And as a result, the only two men left is Lex Luthor, and he's in his containment suit. You know, that classic that battle armor of his. He's wearing that to keep him safe from the this whatever this disease was that killed all the men on Earth. And Superman. Superman was out in space. He was. I don't think he was out in space. I think he went in search. He wasn't affected, so he went out in space in search of uh, what happened to all the men. And so all the women are now in charge of keeping Earth safe. And it's kind of like why the Last Man. It was kind of like that before. I think this was actually before they did the comic book Why the Last Man. And part of the premise was that Lois is pregnant with Clark's child when it occurs. So because they determined that Superman is immune to whatever this disease was, all of the women, or like specifically, I think like all the superhero women, they volunteer to be in fertilized, with Superman's DNA or sperm and to have children, which results in boys and girls being born all with Superman's strength. So, but I had, so that this issue, which is issue 1, signed by Fabian Macasa. Kevin McGuire did the artwork. Beautiful work he did. And then with inks by Joe Rubinstein. Joe Rubinstein, he was actually the first time I met him. This was one of the first books I had him sign. I had him sign issue 1 of this series. So enjoyed it very much. And then, of course, we followed that up, and I have issue 2 also signed by Fabian and by Kevin. But I just want to share this one with you guys. And then we have the follow up of The Last Day, which was today, Free Comic Book Day. Day 123, Justice League of America, A World Without Grown-Ups. This was an interesting one in how they did it, where all basically two parallel Earths are created. One populated by the adults, one populated by the children. The art honors for the adult side was Bob McCoon, inked by Mark McKenna. And then on the kids side was Roberto Ramos with inks by, I think Wayne Foster did the inks. I don't think Wayne did the inks for both 1 and 2, but he was part of the inks for book 1. So again, very entertaining book. And this story was popular enough that when they in season 1 of Young Justice, they took this story and utilized it in the animated series. So that shows how popular it was. But I'm very happy about all the signatures I have in this issue. We got Todd Zingo. He's the one who did the story. He has signed it along with Mark McKenna, who did the pencils. I'm sorry, Mike McCoon, who did the pencils. Mark McKenna, who did the inks. Wayne Foster, who also did the inks. And then, of course, John Workman did the lettering. So having all of those signatures on this book, I love. That's the thing I really like. That's the reason why you can tell I'm not a flipper. I'm not a flipper, and when I've reached the point that whenever I see someone's going to be at a show, I will have them. I will look and see what do I have that's signed by something else. Perfect example is Cyforce. Okay, Cyforce. There's an issue where I already have signatures for Mark McKenna and Chris Ivey, who did the backup story in it. Lee Weeks is going to be at a show this next weekend in Phillipsburg. He did the cover, so I'm going to have him sign it. And then at Garden State Comic Con, Mark Bagley is going to be at it. He did the pencils for this issue. So I'm going to have him sign it too. So that way I'll have 4 signatures on this book. Remember, I have the book signed I liked and want to have signed, not because I think it'll be worth more in the future. As I like to put, when it comes to what these books are worth and trying to sell them, that is my girlfriend's problem, not mine. Because I will not be getting rid of these until after I am 6 feet under. So, but, okay. Well, that's working well. I didn't even notice I'm using the nib, the nib with a very small dot, so that's the reason why I was so careful. And I wasn't sure at first whether I was going to do this or not, whether I was going to use a small nib while I was talking to you, but I decided to, and I'm glad I did. Did quite well. So I'm getting back in the swing of things. Still got a little bit of a cough, but I'm getting over it. It's getting better. Each day it gets better. So, but let's see here. Yeah, that looks good. And you know what? This this brick, it's working right now. This brick on this guy right here is working. I think it's part of the reason why it's working is because I'm being very linear and very soft with the dots on him, and I'm being very thick with the dots here on here. So like, if I really want, what I should be doing is thickening the dots and putting more dots here on the brick here to help him pop. So yeah, because you can see right off the bat, just putting some more dots right in there is making him pop. So like, get some more in here. Yeah, that works well. He's really starting to pop now. And that was the whole reason why I was really wanting to do the bricks, was to help these guys pop away from it. So that's working. So, and it's always a delicate dance as to figuring out how much you stipple to create that separation between the two. So, but having fun with it. So, okay, guys, tomorrow I'll be talking about the Lehigh Valley Con, this upcoming con in Phillipsburg, and then just a slight preview of the Garden State. So, guys, I want you all to have a great day. You know I'm going to have a great day. It's free comic book day. I went and got free comics. So, when you get done with this video, if you haven't been to your local comic book store, go out to your local comic book store. So, until then, guys, remember, life is stressful. Take it all one dot at a time.